Strike now entering its fourth month, and in the face of unprecedented violence, the government today insisted that it will close 20 pits with the loss of over 20,000 jobs.
Mining communities are being bullied just like we are. What they need is cash.
Put your hand in your pockets for the miners!
The miners' strike took place on the 12th of March 1984. The strike was an industrial action to shut down the coal industry in an attempt to prevent closures. All around the country, people came together to raise money and agree on terms with the miners and their families. The biggest fundraiser was a group of gay and lesbian campaigners from London. They collected buckets of loose change as they appeared at one gay bar to the next. This true story of how two worlds collided has been created into a film, Pride, which is a story that needs to be told. This film is shown to be a 15+, which is the age when history like this becomes more important to them, especially through representations like people, places, events and social groups. At this age, people's rights become more known and they start to identify issues in the world which could affect them. They start to figure out who they are as a person and what they want to do. This type of communication shows them what's right and what's wrong. This scene shows the poor wealth and poverty levels they lived in back in the 1980s. Focusing on the empty sandwiches suggests poor wealth and money struggles, which are still current issues in our society today. This is an important message to show how other people are going through similar issues. The high and low levels of the wealth shows a divide in the population, stopping the wars between the different classes, which will make everyone come together and be treated equally. A medium shot focuses on the characters in the scene, while still showing the environment and their surroundings. Their costumes illustrate their age and how they have enough money to survive. However, it's a daily struggle and they have minimal money to keep them going. Since 1970, area rates of poverty and wealth in Britain have changed over the years. It's moving back to levels of inequality in wealth and poverty due to homelessness, last seen more than 40 years ago. In this scene, Hefina dictates how the sandwiches are cut, which illustrates her role. The catchphrase, "Make me a sandwich," is a stereotype of women belonging in the kitchen. This scene links to that stereotype, which enhances the fact that back in the days, women's rights were not equal.
Get up there and find a gay or a lesbian right now.
I don't want to give them the wrong impression.
Right, because you're so bloody irresistible.
Aimed an insight into a way of life, into other people's sexuality.
You're always worried about how you're going to be portrayed.
Sian is known as an independent, strong and brave individual. In this scene, as she confronts the policeman, illustrates how she is gaining control and the policemen are losing support. What a woman does is reflected on her future and how people look at her. However, this is different for males. The montage used shows us how she was talking for an extended amount of time, which shows the amount of power she holds for herself and for other females.
Do you think the history of women's rights is a narrative that needs to be told?
Definitely. I don't know what else you want me to say. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, you know, the history of women hasn't been told enough, and the history of women's rights is no. I mean, most history is about men, isn't it? You know, and it might be getting better now, but of course it needs to be. So I think the history of women needs to be put back in the history books. Women who have not been recognised, women who we haven't heard about, women whose voices themselves haven't been heard. But I also think, in particular, the history of rights is important, because I think that otherwise people will just assume that they always had those rights. And in fact, women have had to fight for those rights. No one woke up one morning and went, "Oh, let's give women equal rights." That's never ever happened. What's happened is that women have fought and gone to prison and died to get those rights. So I think it's really, really important. Yeah.
Have you ever watched the film Pride?
Yeah.
What message do you think the film is trying to portray about women's rights?
About women's rights?
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because actually you mean the film about the miners?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's a really interesting film, because I'm old enough to remember all that, and I was living in London at that time, so I was on those demonstrations, and I collected for the miners actually, and with gay people. So that was absolutely my era. And in fact, I think that the film isn't overtly talking about women's rights, is it? It's talking about gender equality. It's talking about gay rights, really, and it's talking about class.
Yeah.
But and there's some really funny bits in that where the women are getting quite upset, particularly gay women are getting, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I don't think it is overtly talking about it. But for me, women's rights are part of just issues of equality, you know, issues of equality between men and women, but also issues of equality for gay people and heterosexual people, and for people of different races. I think the film is kind of about that general culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think that even though it's not overtly about women's rights, I think women's rights is kind of implied in the message of that film, which is about equality and about being brave enough to fight for equality. But the other thing I think that film's really interesting about is that people's attitudes, which you think are completely entrenched, can change very, very quickly through their experience. So those miners in Wales had all kinds of prejudices, all kinds of, you know what I mean, ideas that seemed to be massively ingrained. And obviously, you know, with a small part of that community, they stayed, didn't they, with that woman and her sons. But actually, for most of those people, their minds were changed almost overnight, just through the experience of meeting those gay people from London. And that's, I think, a really positive, hopeful message of the film.